Hi, welcome to the Self-Love Witch Coven. As always, my intention for this video and all my videos is that you can think of it as kind of like being hypnotized or a spell where you just watch the video and it goes in and transforms your subconscious and you don't have to think too much about it. Even if you're not paying attention, I intend it's all going in on some level and you're retaining it and it will help you shift in some way. So today I'm going to talk to you about one of my most favored techniques ever. And I have been doing this technique for nearly 20 years. So it's a self-development technique rather than a manifestation technique per se, but I will explain how the two can come together. And what I've noticed in really putting together a concrete blueprint for myself in manifestation lately, yes, I know that a blueprint for manifestation already exists, but I wanted to put together my own personalized one that I believe is the most effective for my here and now. And part of that is, I find, as much as I wanted to resist it many times over, is using this technique that I'm about to describe as part of my formula. So today I'm going to talk you through a technique called the work of Byron Katie. And this is such a simple yet potent self-inquiry process where you take a stressful thought or belief, you apply some questions to it, and that kind of helps you see your own truth. Not only does it help you see your own truth, but it helps to unravel the stressful belief somewhat fully or a little bit. A variety of things can happen. And when that stressful belief unravels, you are left with peace or positive beliefs or things that work for you. I also find in doing this technique is that my perspective can shift in an instant, and like a really dramatic, intense, potent shift in perspective. I'm talking, let's say I believe the sky is blue, right? And I'm really, really believing the sky is blue. Maybe you have this belief too. There is no way you could convince me otherwise that the sky is not blue. Like, it is blue. It's just fact, right? And then I could question that belief using the work of Byron Katie technique and have a total perspective shift to realize, oh my goodness, the sky is black and it has always been black. I just haven't noticed it because I've been believing these thoughts, believing these beliefs that has led me to believe the sky is blue. I was so convinced it was blue. And to have this rapid perspective shift that, no, actually, my truth is I see the sky as black, is phenomenal. And that perspective shift is what the law of assumption is about. It's not necessarily about changing the 3D because there's no one to change but self. And by self, we mean, or I interpret as, your perspective changing. And then the 3D might change or it might not, but your perspective has changed. So you live as that perspective. You live with that perspective. Another example is, I might be convinced that I'm ugly. My perspective is that I'm really ugly and no one is attracted to me because I'm ugly, right? It's just my perspective at the in the moment because I'm believing a certain bunch of thoughts. And look, I've got evidence that I'm ugly because such and such said I was ugly, because I compare myself to what people see as beautiful and I'm not that. I've got evidence. And then I apply this technique and question the thinking, and suddenly I realize I have a different perspective. I'm not ugly at all. I'm not ugly at all. Or my perspective shift might be, oh my gosh, I'm actually beautiful. And I'm putting it in this dramatic way because that's been my experience. Yes, I'm wearing my diva gown. Because my perspective has had such eye-opening changes, and all it's taken is a moment. All it's taken is me to see that it's just a stressful belief. It's just a story I have been holding on to because the mind is so clever and it wants to do that. It wants to protect you by holding on to these stories. And then I question the story, the thoughts, the beliefs that make up the story. And I realize, ooh, I've been holding that story and it hasn't been serving me. And what's more is I don't even think it's the truth. And I've had those moments of like, oh my fucking God. This whole time I've been believing the sky is blue and I've been missing that it's black, or I've been missing that it's not a sky, or whatever it is, right? Like that's an extreme example I'm using to demonstrate my point. At the moment, I'm believing the sky is blue, and I don't need to question that because it's not stressful, right? So the idea is we only question the stressful thoughts and beliefs. We don't need to worry about the ones that make us happy or bring us peace or we're comfortable with. Why would we? We just stick to the stressful ones. So that's how this technique relates to manifestation. And there's also the experience of reducing resistance. And when we reduce resistance, that's when we can manifest in what we want consciously. And that's when we can use other techniques like affirming or changing the identity or deciding what we want. Because when we do those things without the resistance, it's free to come on in, right? Now, am I saying you have to clear up resistance to get your manifestation? No. But I've noticed sometimes I have a lot of resistance to some things because I've built up a story over the years, or it's really got a hold on me for some reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is. So this is where I bring this technique in. Am I saying you have to do self-development work to manifest? No. Am I saying you have to heal stuff to manifest? No. I'm telling you, here is a technique I've learned that I like, that I can do at home on my own if I want to, or I can get someone to help me, get a facilitator to help me. I don't have to get out of my pajamas to do it. And it has helped me release resistance, change my perspective, and brought about massive change in my life in the past, and I use it as part of my manifestation blueprint. The invitation here is for you to try it, see how it fits into your life, and it might or it might not, right? So some of the most powerful experiences I've had with this technique, I'm going to talk you through it in a second, don't worry, I'm just giving you the preamble, is that I always find this very fucking funny. I don't know why, but I think when you see truths and release stressful stories, it can be hilarious because you can see how ridiculous the ego mind can be, right? And no hate to the ego mind, it's just doing its job, but it's extreme. So when COVID first hit Australia in February or March 2020, it was, no, I was scared, right? As a lot of people were, like, and rightly so, right? Like it was a scary time. I get it. It was very unknown. We didn't know what was going to happen, etc. I'm not playing down the legitimacy of the fear and of the experiences a lot of people had. But for me, in Australia, in a very fortuitous position and country and a healthy person, like it was my reaction was extreme. So I was so anxious, ridiculously anxious, that my mind had gone to extreme. And look, this is the double-edged sword of having the most incredible imagination. I can come up with the best creative things. I am a storyteller. I write books. I can easily come up with things like SATs and visual loops are so easy for me because I can create it in my mind without hesitation. But when it's flipped on the other side, it's extreme, right? And so at the start of COVID in Australia, I freaked out. I panicked. And my mind thought that the apocalypse was happening. And like, I get it. Like, that's a legit thing that you could think would be happening. But I legitimately thought the apocalypse was up, like literally upon us. I thought I was in a zombie movie, right? And I did the work of Byron Katie, and my facilitator at the time, thank God she exists, was like, okay, so tell me what you are thinking is happening. And I'm like, I see dead bodies in the street and people like running around and just trampling over each other, and parents leaving their dead babies in the gutter because they just can't, afford to feed. You've seen an post-apocalyptic movie, right? That's what was going through my mind. And I legitimately thought it was happening or was going to happen in the next 24 hours. And through doing this work, I calmed the fuck down and I realized, that's not happening. That's a story that's going on up here. It's not happening in my 3D. My facilitator said, okay, look outside the window and what is happening outside the window. And I was like, oh, there is literally nothing going on outside. My neighbours aren't even walking past my window. Literally nothing. Birds are singing. Sunshine. Very peaceful day. Beautiful day. And that, I guess that's, just looking at reality. But also there was a lot of questioning the thinking as well around how terrifying it is and how, but that was all a story my mind was going through, a very stressful story. And when I dropped those beliefs and saw my truth, what I actually realized was going on was exactly what I had fucking asked for. Because I think this hit Australia like late February or maybe late March. I can't quite remember. It doesn't matter. But at the end of January and early February, I remember listening to Abraham Hicks a lot and really, really, really wanting to manifest a 6-month sabbatical. I was so burnt out. I was exhausted. I just wanted a sabbatical, and I did not know how to make that happen in the 3D. This is before my law of assumption times, remember? I was more law of attraction-y. I didn't know how I could afford it because I was a workaholic at that point and just couldn't take the risk, right? I was stuck in this cycle. And then, wouldn't you know it, COVID came about in Australia and pretty much gave me a forced sabbatical. There were times when we couldn't leave the house. Work had slowed right down. Everyone else, there was no FOMO because everyone else was we couldn't really do much, right? Let me tell you, I fucking thrived. Not leaving the house was my dream at the time. So when I got rid of the terrifying story that the worst thing in the world that I can imagine is happening, when I dropped that and my perspective changed, what did I see? I saw I got my fucking manifestation. I was literally living my manifestation, my dream life. And all that was between me and my dream life was this horror movie I was playing in my head. It was just a horror movie. Was not even fucking real. Like, there was no evidence of it, right? And so my point of that is to share you like a really powerful moment that I use this technique to have that ultimate perspective shift and see, I've actually got my manifestation. So how exciting would it be for you if you dropped one of your stressful horror movie stories? Doesn't even have to be as extreme as what the dead babies in the gutter that I was going on. Could just be like, oh yeah, I keep getting a headache every 3 days, right? Could be something like that. And you're going to say to me, yeah, but that's happening. It's in the 3D. Okay, yeah, but imagine having a perspective shift where your perspective completely changes. You might realize you have your manifestation, whatever that is, right? I know and look, trust me, I know how hard that is to believe until you have the perspective shift. You need to have the perspective shift to see it. You can't have it on this side of the perspective shift. So don't even try, right? Do not even try to have that perspective shift yet. It's only when you've had it that you can kind of go, oh, look what's happening, right? So how do you do that? You can choose any of your preferred methods, but you can also try the work of Byron Katie. So I'll talk you through the steps, but my recommendation is first go to the website, familiarize yourself with the technique. It's not a hard one, but there's benefit in familiarizing yourself with it. So watch Byron Katie's YouTubes, listen to her podcast, and you can see it in action as she takes people through the process. Download the worksheet. It's called a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, where you are invited to write down your stressful thoughts and beliefs, and then use the questions provided to question those thoughts and beliefs. And I treat it like a meditation, right? So I find it more effective if I have the time and the space to really sit down and contemplate these things. Don't do it while you're, or you can, but you know, I find it more effective if I sit down and meditate with the answers, let the answers come up or really find my truth, rather than, doing the dishes or whatever, being in the shower and doing it. It's just not as effective for me. But you find your own way. Okay, so in the work of Byron Katie invites you to judge another or a situation outside of yourself before judging yourself. Just at least until you get used to the process and the questions, because we can find it really easy to be like, so-and-so pissed me off because they did this, right? And that's an easy place to get to. And then we can question that. Whereas the ego mind can get a little teeny tiny bit slippery when we're like, I pissed myself off because I said this to someone, right? And a range of things can happen. Now, do I use judgments or beliefs on myself and question? Absolutely I do. I have been doing this work for 20 years, and I do find it effective questioning myself. So yes, you can do that. But the recommendation is maybe don't just do that on your first go, right? So what happens is you can fill out the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet with a series of statements guided statements, and it looks like I want blah blah to do this, or such and such should do this, or shouldn't be an asshole to me, or whatever, right? So let's pick something as an example and I can talk you through it. If we go in terms of manifestation, there's a lot of people wanting their SP, right? So let's do that. So SP should ask me out. Let's use that statement, right? And that's stressful. Let's say that's stressful because they're not asking you out and you want them to, right? So SP should ask me out. Now, here are the 4 questions to help you really question that stressful belief and find out your truth. So the number 1 question is it true? Very simple question. Is it true? And the invitation here is to only reply with a yes or a no. That's it. Not an I don't know, not a yeah but, not a I'm not sure. It's a yes or a no. And there's no wrong answer. It's just your truth. A yes or a no. Is it true? So, I want SP to ask me out. Is it true? Yeah, I do. Okay. Then we go to question 2. And question 2 is, can you absolutely know it's true? Can you absolutely know it's true? And so the invitation here, again, yes or no answer, is can you absolutely 100,000% know that it's your truth that, in this instance, you want SP, like SP should ask you out. Oh, I can't remember what my original statement was. See, I'm going already. SP should ask me out. I think that's what it was. So, can I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, know that SP should ask me out? And your invitation is to really sit with this here. And you can I have taken up to 2 hours just sitting with this question, finding my own truth. Or days even, you know, just because I have a desire to get to my truth, because my truth is always peaceful, loving, kind. It feels a lot better and a lot less stressful. Can I absolutely know it's true? SP should ask me out. And again, no wrong answer. It might be a yes. What I'm finding in this moment is I can't absolutely know that it's true that he should ask me out. And, you know, you can think about how you got there. And for me, that might be, no, he shouldn't ask me out because I'm holding a belief that he's not into me. Or I'm holding a belief that I need to heal myself in certain areas. So of course he shouldn't be asking me out when that shit's running. Or I'm really, the truth is I'm really fucking exhausted at the moment. And look, see how that's an opportunity to question that stressful belief at some time. But right now I'm believing I'm really fucking exhausted. So he shouldn't ask me out because I'm too exhausted to go out with him today, you know, as at this moment. We're just being present. So he shouldn't ask me out. Or you might come to your truth of like, he shouldn't ask me out because I want to be the one asking them out. Or perhaps the last time you spoke, you said, F off, get out of my life, don't ever talk to me again. So they shouldn't ask you out because you told them to fuck off, right? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no yes or no. Like saying no, it doesn't mean you're winning this game. It doesn't mean you're going to get your manifestation or your perspective change faster. It's just about finding your truth. So that's the first two questions. To recap, the first question is it true? The second question is, can you absolutely know that it's true? Simple, right? Very simple. Now, the third question is, how do you react when you are believing that thought? So that statement you've written down, SP should ask me out. How do you react? Like, what goes on for you? Now, here is a really, really interesting place to get to know yourself. This question, and again, take all the time you need. Take 15 minutes, take 15 days, whatever, take 15 years, is your chance to examine how this belief affects you in every way. And look, there are sub-questions for this branch of a question, which you can go into once you're experienced with the work. But for now, let's just keep it really simple. And so you want to be looking at things like, how do I feel? What happens in my body? What kind of crazy shit do I do when I'm believing this? Where do I go in my mind? How do I treat the other person? How do I treat myself? When I'm believing this stressful thought, do I go and eat like 5 hamburgers in a row or whatever, you know? Just get really, really clear with yourself. And, you know, the thing is, if you're doing this without a facilitator, if you're doing this yourself, no one needs to know this. So you don't need to hide. Like, get really honest with yourself. Like, okay, you know, SP should ask me out. How do I react when I'm believing that thought? And according to the 3D, he's not asking me out. You know what I do? I get frustrated. I want to reach out and text him and harass him. I watch many, many YouTube videos, which is fine, right? It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just getting really, really clear on what I do when I'm having these kind of thoughts and stressful beliefs. SP should ask me out. How do I live my life? How do I react? Kind of put things on hold, right? Like, I don't smile at other people because I'm like, or I don't flirt with other people because I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for SP to ask me out, you know? And that's fine. I'm not saying you have to go out and be out with other people. I'm just saying, you like, look at what you're doing. Look at the behaviors and the way you're living your life. And another fun little thing I like to do is that I notice I do is SP should ask me out, and he's not, right? I like to make up stories about why that might be. Does anyone else do that? And geez, they can get dark. I like the story of like, that's because I'm not good enough. That's because I'm too old. That's because I'm too unattractive. That's because I'm too dumb. That's because I'm too overweight. That's because I've got too many wrinkles. Or that's because I said that really dumb thing that one time, which he probably has no fucking recollection about. But in my head, I need to justify why he is not asking me out because I'm really fucking stressed about this thought, right? Don't know if you can relate. So that is question 3. Again, take your time. And you can write your answers down. You can speak them out loud to yourself. You can speak them out loud to your head. You can speak it out loud to a friend or a facilitator. There's no right or wrong, right? With how you do it. The only thing I would keep encouraging you to do is find your truth and be honest with yourself. So that's question 3. If you've got that far, well done. Question 4 for me is the fun part, quote unquote, because this is where we get the perspective shift. So let me just recap the questions. 1, can you know it's true? 2, can you absolutely know it's true? 3, how do you react? How do you live your life when you're believing that stressful thought? Now 4. 4 is where I want you to close your eyes, use your imagination, and I want you to identify who would you be without that thought? Who would you be? How would you be living your life without that stressful thought? Again, there's no like right or wrong answers. Find your fucking truth. And it's really important for me to say this here because this can stump a lot of people. I'm not asking you to drop the belief. I'm not asking you to not get the thing, right? I'm asking you just take a look at who you would be if you were unable to think that thought. If you woke up tomorrow and literally were not able to have that thought, what kind of person would you be? How would you live? How would it feel? What would you do? And it's like just trying on a jacket, right? Let's try on this jacket, see what it feels like. What would you be trying on that jacket, right? So who would I be without the thought SP should ask me out? If I literally couldn't think that, I know I'd be very, very present. I'd be very centered with myself. I would be focused on what I'm doing, right? Whatever that is. I would have a lot more mental space where I wouldn't be trying to figure out why the fuck he's not asking me out. Wouldn't have to be making up all these stories. I'd just be really peaceful. And it doesn't stop SP asking you out. It doesn't stop you, it doesn't stop your manifestation. It just stops the stress that goes with it and the resistance. And you get to experiment with curiosity, who you would be without that line of thinking. And for me, I notice without the thought SP should ask me out, I'm so relaxed that I can see I'm really enjoying my day. I'm really enjoying my life. Geez, I feel really fulfilled in life. I feel really happy and free and flowing, and there's not a lot I have to worry about. I really don't. It's really peaceful. And it doesn't stop me loving SP, doesn't stop me loving myself. It doesn't stop any of the good, juicy stuff, right? So that's the fundamental 4 questions of questioning the stressful belief. Now, the final part to kind of cap it off and really solidify your new perspective is called the turnarounds. And these turnarounds are really helpful to really see new perspectives. And you might see one that resonates with you so deeply that you automatically just go, oh, fuck me, I'm living my life with that perspective henceforth, right? That's the sky is black thing. So it's recommended to do 3 types of turnarounds in the work. The first turnaround is turning it to the self. The second is turning it to the other. And the third is turning it to the opposite. And I'll talk you through all of these, right? And then with each turnaround, so there's 3 different turnarounds recommended. With each turnaround, it's recommended you give yourself 3 concrete examples of where that turnaround could be true, if not truer, than the original statement. So let me talk you through that. So for the first turnaround, after you've done those questions, the 4 questions, the first turnaround is to the self. The original statement was SP should ask me out. Let's turn that to the self and provide 3 examples of where that could be true, if not true. So by turning it to the self, we substitute SP for self. So I should ask me out. And then I'm going to give you 3 examples of where that could be true, if not truer. I should ask me out. Okay. It's true. I should ask me out. I want to go on so what I'm wanting with SP, I want to go on a dinner date and see if there's chemistry. So I should give that to myself. I should ask myself out, go on a dinner date and see if there's chemistry with myself, whatever that means. Like, see what I learn about myself. A second example of when I turn around to myself, the original statement to myself, I should ask myself out. An example of where it's true, if not truer, is I should practice being asked out. Right? That's me asking myself out by creating an imaginary scenario of SP, of a random stranger, of whatever I want, asking me out, and just noticing what that brings up for me. A third example of when I turn it to myself, I should ask me out, could be I should ask the version of myself that has SP out. Ask them out to come out with me and see what that version of self is like. They're just examples. You come up with your own that are true for you, that are true, just as true, if not truer, than the original statement. And I know I do this every single time, 20 years doing this shit. And I'm like, I get to the examples. I'm like, I can't think of any examples. This is bullshit. And then I sit and I wait. And I tend to come up with more than 3 examples. So we've turned it to the self. That's the first turnaround. The second turnaround is to the other. And that means generally to the other person. So the other in this instance is I should ask SP out. And then I'll come up with 3 examples of where that's true, if not truer. I should ask SP out. I can fucking see truth in that. I'm the one that wants to go out with him. So I should ask him out. Now, you might choose not to. I get that. But we're just looking here at an example of where something in your life could be true, as true, if not truer, than that original statement. And your original statement is SP should ask me out. And I should ask SP out is just as true as that. Like, why? It is not the 1950s. A specific gender doesn't have to wait for another gender to ask them out, right? There's no, in most of the world, there's no rules who asks who, right? And I get it. Like, there's teachings of like, the feminine should receive. Well, I get that. Yeah. But really, there's not really any rules unless you're believing there are. And then the third is to the opposite. And so opposite, we mean we typically look at the opposite sentiment, right, of the original statement. So if the original statement is SP should ask me out, the opposite would be SP shouldn't ask me out. and then come up with 3 examples of where that's true, if not truer than the original statement. And I kind of did this in the first question, right? Like, where could it be just as true that SP shouldn't ask me out? Well, fuck, I'm believing that he's not asking me out, first of all, right? So of course he, like, 3D follows mine, right? Like, follows beliefs. If I'm believing he's not asking me out, of course he shouldn't be asking me out. Otherwise, that could really fucking blow my mind about how manifestation works, right? Or another example of SP shouldn't ask me out. Well, you know, maybe it's led you to discovering new manifestation techniques. Maybe it's led you to discovering the work of Byron Katie, that they have not asked you out until this point. And look, they could do that in 5 minutes. But can you see where it could be just as true, if not truer, that they shouldn't have asked you out up until this moment? Look at all that it's given you. And please, I don't know how many times I have to say this, but I really want to hone in these points, right? That doesn't fucking mean, excuse the veracity there, but it doesn't mean they won't ask you out. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have your desire. I want you to have your desire. Please believe me, that is why I'm teaching you this. Okay, so you did it. You just learned a whole new game-changing technique that's going to change your perspective. And I'm going to recap the questions for you, even though I'm going to link to the worksheet and probably write it in the comments box. I just want you to be clear, because this is a process and I want you to do the process. I don't want you, and I've learned the hard way, I don't want you to come in and have a stressful belief and sit there and go, is that true? Is it true? Is it? Yes, and then get on with your day. This is a full-blown process that you really have to stick to the whole thing for it to have any kind of perspective change and shift. And I promise you, you do this, miracles happen. I fucking promise you. I fucking promise. That's a guarantee. So, it is your stressful statement. And that can be anything from, I'm too fat. I need more money. I am angry that SP cheated on me. The world is going to shit. Our freedoms are being taken away, you know? My boss shouldn't have said that. It just anything that's a stressful thought for you, from seemingly littlest thing to the biggest thing, whatever. Like, do it on every freaking thought you've ever had. Like, honestly, it's worth it. So the questions are: original statement, question 1, is it true? Yes or no? Can you absolutely know it's true? Yes or no? How do you react when you're believing that stressful thought? And then describe. So you get clear. It's not because I give a shit what you do. It's so that you get clear of all the ways you are living out this one belief. And I've had beliefs that absolutely fucking run the show. And it makes me do the most insane shit and believe the wildest things. And like, you know what is a very brilliant belief to question, that I think can hold people back? I'm too old, right? Now, I've had lived experience of that where I was thinking, oh, I'm too old to get back into dancing. Okay. Thank fuck I dropped that belief, because now I'm performing on stage and I'm thriving and absolutely freaking loving my life more than I've ever loved it before. And if I'd held that belief I'm too old, I wouldn't be Oh, you wait until I talk about my life, how I'm thriving these days. It's incomparable. Anyway, so you get it, right? Like one belief can really hamper so much in your life. And until you get really real with yourself, like I'm too old is an obvious one, right? But you could have a seemingly innocuous belief of I'm angry at my boss because they said that I was too sensitive. True, that's a real story from me from my early days. And not realizing the actual impact that's having on your life. And you know what it would make me do is like hold back my emotions, and then the emotions would like blurt out in the wrong times, right? Just from like one thing that I turned into my belief, right? What people say are benign. It's the shit that I believe about it that's the wacky stuff. Anyway, what was I saying? So, statement. Is it true? Yes or no? Can you absolutely know it's true? Yes or no? How do you react? Who would you be without that thought? And then you do your 3 turnarounds and 3 examples of each of those 3 turnarounds. And what Byron Katie likes to say in the work is that sometimes, a lot of the time, the belief, you don't have to let go of the belief. You question it and the belief lets go of you. And I have had that experience, and it's a beautiful thing. Anyway, that was a massive lesson, guys. Thanks for sticking with it. Let me know in the comments how your perspective has changed, and if you have any questions about this process so that I can please address them in future videos. And as always in the soft love witch coven, we treat ourselves and others with softness, with love, with soft love, kindness, compassion. Thanks for joining me.